Copenhagen is one of the smallest capital cities in Europe. What was once a fishing village by the Öresund has grown to a small metropolis with a big vision. No other city is making its future as green as Copenhagen. The Copenhageners live out their life of progress and creativity with complete ease. It's time for breakfast at the Wilsted Christiansen family home. Only a few minutes from the town centre, Mette and her husband Kent live with their son Laust on an old sailing yacht. They traded in their flat for 3 cabins.
People are always asking how many square meters we have on board, but it's hard to say. You're living on a boat. You arrange things differently.
3 people living in 30 square meters. Mette comes from a boat-building family and is used to living in small spaces.
It's paying attention to what's important. You don't have to worry about everything and everyone. You can't move the furniture. That's relaxing.
The Elita, which they bought from a Danish count several years ago, made a family dream come true. When they have something to do in town, they just take their home with them.
Copenhagen is a small city. You know each other and everything's close by. That's what's nice about Copenhagen. I can enjoy the water and nature and have the flair of a capital city at the same time.
In the 1950s, Copenhagen's town planners were already focused on quality of life and tried to remove cars from the city centre. Today, Copenhagen is primarily a bicycle city. Almost half of the city's 600,000 residents get to work by bike, a trend that took off during the oil crisis in the 1970s. Now, there are more bicycles on the road than cars. Mette also cycles the remaining distance from the harbour to her office every day. Her bike is eye-catching, as the frame is made from wood. She's a designer and co-developed it. Her creative workshop for bicycle design is in Nordhavn, a harbour area where containers were once stacked.
Det her er adversionen, vil det være, cyklen ser meget bedre ud med. Her er adversionen med admotoren. Swiss drive system.
Together with Paul Harder Cohen, Mette founded the company Co & Co. The two met at a bicycle trade fair. Now they want to make a breakthrough with wooden bicycles.
Hvis man kigger sådan på cykelkulturen i København.
If you look at the bike culture in Copenhagen, you can see the change.
Meget konkret transportmiddel til at blive
from a simple mode of transport to
et statement,
an identity statement. The bike you choose says something about you.
Udstråler noget om hvem du er som person.
Paul also comes from boat building. He came up with the idea of gluing Danish ash and walnut wood with carbon fibers. it makes for a very sturdy frame that evens out the bumps in the road. We're using techniques and material from boat building for the bicycles. For every step of the process, it's essential to think about what the product will be like at the end and how to optimize it so it can be produced in bulk. It takes Paul 1 week to build a wooden bike. At 8 kilos, it's a featherweight. The cheapest model can be bought for €2,600. Just like you can hear the difference between an acoustic and an electric guitar, so the body notices the difference between a normal and a wooden bicycle. The wood gives a comfortable driving experience. You don't need much strength to move forwards. It's just a great experience. Really fantastic.
Det er bare en livlig køreoplevelse. Det er helt fantastisk.
"400 kilometers of cycle paths join the different parts of Copenhagen. So-called speed cycle lanes lead straight into the city port, making the bike the fastest way to get around. Exercise makes you fit. The side effect? The Danish health system saves up to €70 million a year. The city has even developed special bicycle bins, so cyclists don't have to get off their bike. And of course, the bikes you find here, you find nowhere else in the world. One of them belongs to Ebbe Korsgaard. Custom made with extra large cargo area. Together, they rattle off half a dozen restaurants every week.
Hi Lisa.
Hi Lisa, have you got some coffee for me?
Ej, så godt ud.
That looks great. Ebbe is collecting coffee grounds. 350 kilos of it are loaded onto his cargo bike every week. The ethnology graduate has set up a laboratory in an old shipping container with his friend Mikkel. An estate agent lets them use the property for free, so taken was he with the project. They used to work as consultants for sustainable business models. They had the idea for Beyond Coffee whilst they were drinking a cup of coffee. Coffee grounds are a waste product, of which we have a lot in this city. When you make coffee, only 0.2% of the bean is actually in the coffee. The rest lands in the waste, although there are enough nutrients still in it to continue using it.
Så der har enormt meget næring tilbage i kaffegrumsen, som man kan bruge til noget, og ikke bare smide ud.
A fungus is added to the coffee grounds, which decomposes its components and absorbs the nutrients. They've simulated a natural environment for the fungus in the coffee ground. The container is warm and dark. The atmosphere of a summer's day inside a tree trunk. Perfect growth conditions.
Den ser jo rigtig fin hvid ud.
Here you observe what's happening.
Gang i den.
It's a living organism that grows and spreads.
Hvordan det her det er en levende organisme.
You can feel the warmth it's emitting.
Og faktisk kan man også mærke det, at den bliver varm, når den vokser.
After 3 weeks, the fungus changes containers and seasons. Here, autumn is being simulated, with a high humidity and lots of light. Ideal conditions for a fungus. the oyster mushrooms grow out of the bags, thanks to the nutrients in the coffee grounds. Ebbe and Mikkel harvest 40 kilos of them a week. The oyster mushroom is very fragile and porous, but beautiful to look at. As we harvest it in the city and deliver it on the same day, it's very, very fresh. The slats are particularly delicate. A small living work of art has grown here. Ebbe returns the mushrooms to where he picked up the coffee grounds. We want to try and end the throwaway culture by carefully reusing the waste. The Beast was voted one of the best pizza restaurants in the world. Perhaps because of the original Copenhagen oyster mushrooms. The Little Mermaid has been sitting in the harbour for over 100 years and is the symbol of Copenhagen. As is the Danish monarchy, the oldest royal family in Europe. As modern as the city is, it treasures its traditions. The Tivoli from 1870 is one of the first and most popular amusement parks in the world. Copenhagen embodies small-town idyll and big city ambitions at the same time and attracts tourists from all over the world. Where the merchants' four-mast sailing ships once docked, there is now a cruise ship port. Up to 10,000 passengers disembark and embark on the ships every day. On the quays of 3 new departure halls, uncountable suitcases and supplies worth hundreds of thousands of euros are loaded. With over 300 passenger ships a year, Copenhagen is the largest cruise ship port in the Baltic. Copenhagen is known for being hyggelig, which means cozy. The many green areas and parks encourage socializing and togetherness. The city is pursuing an ambitious goal. By 2025, it wants to be carbon neutral, the first big city in the world to do so. Livia Holland wants to do her part. Together with 2 friends, she started an ecological project on an old industrial estate in Österbro. It is the largest roof garden in Copenhagen, 600 square meters in the heart of the city.
Copenhagen is a very green city, and it's getting greener. There are new gardens everywhere. You notice how more and more people want to bring nature into the city.
It wasn't easy for the trained gardener to find the right roof. An old auction house for old-timers was strong enough. Today, there are over 100 tons of soil where cars used to be sold. The Österkrog project has been going for 3 years. Her colleague Christian is a landscape architect and took over the planning. Now he's tending to a bee colony, that finds plenty of pollen and nectar thanks to the many green areas in the city.
Vi har rigtig mange træer, vi har rigtig mange parker og blomster.
We have a lot of trees here, countless parks and flowers. The bees really like it in Copenhagen. In the country, they usually only get clay, acacia or rape honey. Here in Copenhagen, there's more diversity. There are ash and chestnut trees and everything you find on a balcony. City honey is totally different. It has a more intense flavor.
At det er en anderledes honning end den man normalt kan købe. Den her er sådan lidt mere kraftig.
Every Wednesday, over 100 different types of herbs and vegetables are harvested. For the most part, the roof garden finances itself. The allotments are split between 40 tenants that pay to have their vegetables delivered every month. Most of the harvesters are volunteers. In exchange, Livia teaches them about old and forgotten plant types.
Yeah, this is a very common weed, but you can eat it. Try it. This is goosefoot. Any good? The conversation about sustainability and living in the green becomes more tangible for people when they are in contact with it. And the communities that come from it strengthen the idea.
De fællesskaber, som skabes omkring det, styrker det blot endnu mere.
Between May and September, 60 kilos of vegetables are harvested every week. Recently, a small restaurant opened on the roof that uses the products directly. And the tenants get their fresh box once a week from the green roof garden in Østerbro.
People want to know where what they are eating comes from. It's important for me too, because food production affects climate change. If we want to change something, it's a good place to start.
One-third of the 6 million Danes live in the greater Copenhagen area. In translation, the name of the city means merchant's harbour. The connection to the North Sea and the Baltic made it one of the most important trading cities in Northern Europe for centuries. At the end of the 19th century, industrialization caused people to move from the countryside into the city. The number of inhabitants tripled in a short time period. Farmers and fishermen became factory workers. The places where the women would sell freshly caught fish diminished. After the Second World War, supermarkets drove them out entirely. Over 50 years ago, the final spot disappeared from the capital city. On exactly that spot, the new market, Torhelm, opened on Israel Square. The 60 stalls are offering more and more regional products. Adam Ormin is a top chef in Copenhagen and goes on a voyage of discovery every Wednesday. I'll take some spinach and a few carrots. Is this Danish?
Definitely. The spinach and cucumber are from here, as are the carrots.
super.
Can you pack it up?
Kan du pakke det op? Ja, det kan tage. Altså, jeg bliver enormt inspireret af at gå rundt.
On these markets, I gather ideas and see what's in season.
Lige nu.
Our different seasons give us a wide variety of vegetables.
Og det gør jo, at vi har et stort udvalg af grøntsager, som ændrer sig efter årstiden. Hej. Hej så.
The most recent development is seafood products being offered at the market. Fjord shrimp. They're in season. From Copenhagen. Great. Will you try one?
Ja, lidt liv i dem. Ja. Smager også sådan dejlig cremet, ikke? Og sådan lidt sødlig smag.
Oh, they're really great.
Det er lige det, vi skal have.
Most of all, Adam is looking forward to the herring that fish seller Harry Lund has put aside for him. It is the last of the season. For many centuries, herring was the staple meal for the Copenhageners, but has been increasingly forgotten.
God fornøjelse. Vi ses.
The most basic dish Denmark has to offer, Adam has made into a supreme discipline. The buttered sandwich, the smørrebrød.
Da jeg tog fat i smørrebrødet, der havde det...
There are very bad smørrebrøds now.
Mange år.
That's because no chefs have taken it seriously over the past years. It's been industrialized and left behind with bad toppings and bad rye bread.
Dårligt rugbrød.
It's my mission to go back to where the smørrebrød began, with proper rye bread and homemade products.
Smørrebrødet startede med ordentligt rugbrød, med hjemmelavede produkter. Det her det er altså sild, der har
The herring was pickled to get this great flavor.
Udvikle den her smag.
Following the recipe, Adam is marinating the herring in vinegar and sugar. Smørrebrød was initially a working-class meal that you could take onto the field. It was easy and nutritious.
De fleste har en forventning om, hvad
Most people have their own idea of smørrebrød. I like shaking things up and delighting guests with something so simple, in quotation marks, as smørrebrød. That's my motivation.
Dansk smørrebrød kan have den her store oplevelse i sig. Og det er ligesom det, jeg går efter.
Fish, potatoes, onion, Danish mayonnaise and plenty of herbs. High quality and newly combined. The recipe for Adam's success. He's now running 2 restaurants where only smørrebrød is served, of the highest quality and in countless variations. The Copenhageners are quite open-minded people. I think it's the same with the smørrebrød. You can grow to love our buttered bread very easily. Copenhagen is the cultural center of Denmark, young and hip. Like Nørrebro, the once working-class area has become a multicultural hub. This is where Annalisa Lenenda finds her inspiration.
Copenhagen can be wild and naughty, like an annoying little sister. But at other times, the city can be very open and warm-hearted. I like both faces, the rough and hardness on one side, but also the warmth and softness on the other, depending on what you need.
Som bare giver en god krammer, når man har brug for det en gang imellem.
Annalise is one of the few women in the Copenhagen rap scene. Her songs are always about the city. Her self-produced videos have made her a star in Denmark.
I express myself with rap. Plus, I'm a female rapper. I think if you have dreams, you just have to make them come true and say...
Og så sige, fuck it, I did it, og i hvert fald gøre sit bedste for at rappe toppen, må man ikke bande, undskyld. Did I curse? Yes, I did.
Anneliese grew up in the countryside. She was 17 when she moved to Copenhagen and dreamt of becoming a rapper.
Hej.
Ja.
Godt at se dig.
Milad is a music producer. Her talent immediately convinced him. The son of Iranian immigrants co-owns a small record label in Nürburgring.
Okay. Jeg har tænkt over det.
Anneliese is producing her first studio album with him, a homage to the city that gave her a chance.
Hvad var det sidste stykke? Du sagde et eller andet.
Jeg har lyst til at skrive om de her mennesker.
I want to write about the people living in Copenhagen and their problems, how everyone in the city finds their place. That's my way of reflecting. Copenhagen's openness gives me a lot of input as an artist.
København er med til at inspirere mig rigtig meget, fordi at byen er så åben og har så meget simpelthen at tilbyde i forhold til mig som artist.
Her music is influenced by many different cultures. The texts are about self-determination and the role of the individual in society. She's also involved with rap workshops for young people in her neighborhood.
You can use a lot more words than you could in a pop song, for example. Rap challenges me in a different way as a writer. I really have to use my brain, but that's what I like.
Jeg udvikler mig, jeg skal bruge min hjerne rigtig meget, det kan jeg rigtig godt lide i musikken. Helt sikkert, lad os gøre det, og så...
Today, she's singing her first single release, and a few hours later, she'll be performing it in front of an audience for the first time.
Har fundet jordforbindelsen, pastinakker, mangler kold foran porten til den skal vi jagte og se sammen, kan vi lukke den op ligesom Alibaba. Hvem opretter, hvem udretter, hvem indretter lige meget, alle de snakker, hvem er du, hvad vil du, hvad får, kan du for meget, blandt de danske rapper. Den er karrieren bag, gerne starter hiver imod, og til du hiver efter vejret, respirator.
Anneliese recently signed her first contract with an international record label. A stage in an alternative housing community was the perfect springboard for her. Christiania is a commune in the middle of the city where artists, hippies and dropouts come together. A 34-hectare oasis with 1,000 residents. There are no laws, just rules that are decided upon by the community. Many homes are self-built. One of the more unusual houses is the banana house. Traveling carpenters still in training spend the night here. Over the 20 years, every guest has added something unique to the house. Klaus Danzer built the ground floor. The German carpenter came to Christiania during his training and travels and decided to stay. It's different everywhere in the city. Those who have the money sit in the front row, so to speak. Here, it doesn't matter how much money you have. It's about who you are. He's been living in Christiania for 24 years. He earns his living working as a carpenter in Copenhagen. He continues to be convinced by the values of the commune. There were a lot of housing battles in Europe in the 1980s where empty rooms were occupied, which were then cleared out again. Christiania, also due to its size, managed to stay alive over the years. When activists tore down empty military housing on the city island of Christianshavn in 1971, nobody predicted that the protest would spark a whole movement. An anti-bourgeois society was the goal, a self-governing life without private ownership. The commune built its own infrastructure with a postal system, street cleaning, and kindergartens. The residents are no longer threatened with eviction. After years of negotiations, they reached an agreement with the Danish government in 2011 and bought the occupied land from a collective fund. Nowadays, the former commune dwellers have to deal with the tourists that come to Christiania to seek out a piece of hippie fairyland.
Christiania hat ja so eine Leuchtturmfunktion. Viele sehen ihre eigenen.
Christiania has this beacon effect. For many, Christiania is a dream come true, even though they don't really know what Christiania is. But the idea means a lot.
Aber die Idee, die bedeutet sehr viel.
The residents are also responsible for the upkeep of the roads and green spaces. Klaus is passionate about trees. As a proper tree climber has been missing in green Christiania, Klaus taught himself the trade.
Whether
I'll take money for it, I haven't decided that yet. We have a so-called gardeners group here that have a full-time job tending to all the green spaces in Christiania, but they can't climb.
Die können aber nicht klettern.
In tree climbing contests, Klaus has won the national title. The Parks Department does not decide which branches are removed. Here, that's something that will be decided democratically. Everyone has something to say.
Saw a little more, if you're asking us, so we get more light.
Okay, but can you see the wound on the branch from down there?
It's bad with the shade. Take off as much as you can.
I'll do what I can. We talk a lot about what's good. We talk until we're in agreement. Everyone who's passing by lends a hand. I always have very happy customers. It's a task most of the people can't do themselves. And the people are happy when the tree has come down safely. Since the 1990s, dozens of architectural icons have sprung up in the harbour area, which have completely changed the city's skyline, like the opera, the new theatre, and the library. Designed in Denmark became a brand in the 20th century. The classics are chairs, armchairs, and lamps. Functionality and a reduction to the essentials is the key to success. To find new raw materials as source material for design objects, you have to try out unusual ideas. Jonas Ilbad's favorite material is seaweed. He gathers 30 kilos of it a week.
Når man tilbringer meget tid ved vandet.
In Copenhagen, you spend a lot of time by the water. This automatically brings you in contact with materials that you can only find there. We were looking for a local building material. There's more than enough kelp here on the coast. It's a wonderful resource that you can get for free. Jonas studied design and likes experimenting with new materials. He's founded a company together with Nikolaj Steenfett. Drying the kelp always leads to new discoveries. I find it unbelievably interesting. It depends entirely on when we harvest it and what type of seaweed it is. The shapes and the colors are completely different every time. And that's what makes every one of our designs so unique. Seaweed has been used in the food industry and as a fertilizer for a long time. The two designers have found that if you mix kelp powder with water, you get a 100% organic glue. The advantage of this material is that as designers, we can explain how it was made. A transparent production process is very important to us. The thin liquid was hard to work with at first, but mixed with toilet paper, the algae becomes usable raw material. It used to be just paper and kelp, but now we can mold the material. We've made it usable. The consistency of the mixture is now perfect. You could make lampshades, for example. That's not quite closed yet. Our design is part of the Danish tradition, but we're also trying to go in a different direction by working with the materials in a new way. It's a look to the future. It's important for us to show all the possibilities we still have in product design.
Det er vigtigt at vise, at fremtidens materialer og produkter kan laves sådan her.
Their algae lamps have even made it into Denmark's Design Museum. They are hanging alongside the classics of the national history of design. Copenhagen impresses with its tolerance and laid-back attitude, and gives everyone the freedom to reinvent themselves.